They were talking about killing me.
Wow.
I didn't know enough Spanish to know exactly what the plan was, but I knew they were talking about killing me. Okay. And they weren't going to give me my drugs back. Even if I have to leave this place and jet out the back and never see these guys again, I don't care about my drugs. I'm trying to save my life.
Okay, thank you for tuning in to the Redacted Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Bender, and we have our guest here today who's going to be anonymous. It's a secret. It's a mystery. We don't know who he is. Back behind the cameras and back behind in the soundboard, we got Pamela doing all the hard work back there. I don't know what she's doing, but it's working, whatever it is. And she's been sworn to secrecy, too, so she's not going to reveal who you are. And today, you've got to stand up a little bit. Because you got a little back problem going on. So I don't know how much we can see that in the camera, but, you know, I know how that is, having back problems. Like, it's the weirdest thing, finding a comfortable chair.
Yeah.
Like, you're not comfortable anywhere. You got to stand and move, and this chair's great, that chair sucks.
Which is unfortunate because this chair is super cool.
Yeah. It's a badass chair.
Yeah, it really is.
You just stand in front of it.
All right.
It's fine. But you got a hell of a story. Man, it reminds me of like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which you said you didn't see, but I was like, man, this is kind of cool. It's a wild story. And, you know, how old were you at the time?
28. I thought when I first told you the outline of the story, I thought I was younger, but it was after my divorce, and I was 28, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So how did it kind of start out?
Well, so just in my misery of the aftermath of divorce, which is normal, especially with children, I had been kind of an athlete / bodybuilder most of my life and had started getting into steroids. You know, I'm not a big guy, so I wanted to get bigger, stronger, faster, faster than natural. So just through talking with guys in the gym, I thought, you know, steroids is the way to go. And so I decided to do it the right way, man, so to speak, and not grab it off the streets in the States. I went over to Mexico to get it cheap, made a little business out of it, or at least I thought I was.
So before the first time you tried steroids, or did you try it from someone else or get it off the streets first, or did you?
Yeah, I actually did. Okay. I tried it first when I was 17. I was on it for about a year.
Okay.
I didn't even know what I was doing, so I don't know if it actually even got into my body properly.
Yeah.
Or if it was real.
Yeah. Could have just been oil or something.
Could have been.
Vitamin.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what kind of steroids were you looking for? I know there's different types.
I was looking for all kinds. I mean, back then, the steroid of choice was Dianabol, which was a pill.
Okay.
Also Anadrol, which was another pill, very, very potent.
Okay.
You didn't have to take an injection, but everybody knew if you were going to be on steroids, you also had to do testosterone injections.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was looking for mainly those three.
Okay. Yeah. So a little TRT and some anabolic steroids.
Correct. Yeah.
And then you can't just get that stuff prescribed here.
Not back then you couldn't. I mean, now it's pretty easy, especially if you're older, but not
the TRT is.
The TRT is, yeah.
But not the steroids.
No, well, it's all categorized as steroids, you know, as a kind of a street term.
Okay.
TRT is testosterone replacement therapy, so we've kind of coined that term. But testosterone is a liquid, you know, it's synthetic testosterone that your body already has in it.
Okay.
And you know, now we found out a lot of men are walking around with low testosterone, so they've made it a clinical thing now where you can pretty much go get it just saying, "Hey, I feel tired all the time" or something. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not the other.
No, the Dianabol and the Anadrol are pretty hard to get. Most doctors won't prescribe that stuff. It's a pretty black market, yeah.
I'm sure there's like specific medical conditions that could qualify for it.
Yeah.
But people are not using it for that.
No, it's very hard on your liver, so
Yeah.
it's not really safe. As opposed to injections monitored by a doctor can be relatively safe these days.
Okay. Yeah. And the goal of this is to get strong and get big.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my goal.
And this stuff is totally legal in Mexico, or at least it was back then. I know they've cracked down. Now you need like a phony prescription or something.
Actually, I think it's still pretty much over the counter in Mexico as it was back then.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I know it is.
Jeez.
I was in Cabo last year, and it's all over. Yeah.
So, the first time you go to Mexico, do you have a plan? Do you have some research? I mean, this is what, early 2000s?
Yeah, 2003, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happened was I didn't go over there blind. I had met a guy where I lived in Kentucky that was friends with a guy that grew up in San Diego and had recently moved across the border to Tijuana, Mexico.
Okay.
And this guy was a pretty wild cat, as I was too. And so I linked up with him through this mutual friend. And we made a plan that I would meet up over there and he would show me the ropes and make sure I was getting the real stuff because there's a lot of fake pharmacies on the streets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I get there, first time I'd ever been to, I think first time I'd been to California even.
Okay.
So I get off the plane, catch a train from San Diego over to Tijuana. It's like 2 a.m. I hop off this train. I walk across the border. And I'm looking for a hotel to shack up in for the night, and had his address, so I knew the hotel that I was going to be at was pretty close to him.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I realized I was walking down probably the most dangerous street in Tijuana. Just lined with prostitutes and drug dealers.
What street's that? Is that
I don't remember the name of it.
Okay.
No.
Just like a kind of a skid row or kind of a red light district or something.
It wasn't even that. It was kind of an off street, like an alley almost,
Oh, shit.
from a popular street in Tijuana, which is Revolution Boulevard.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was an offshoot of that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So what happened was I grabbed that hotel. Of course, I didn't sleep all night. It was a pretty dingy place, expected to see rats.
It's like a shitty roach motel.
Yeah, like really bad.
Yeah.
Right. Worse than most things we've ever seen here.
Okay.
In the States. And I didn't sleep all night. Again, it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock by the time I got in the hotel anyway.
Yeah.
So crack of dawn, I'm up trying to contact this guy. Thank God he was awake, and he met with me like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And so from there, took my stuff over to his place. He had a little apartment in this little, this building. And
this was an American.
This is an American.
Okay.
Yeah. And come to find out, I learned pretty quickly. I don't think it was till the next day, though, that I realized that his roommate, which was, I thought his girlfriend, was actually his boyfriend. So suddenly I found out, and my friend in Kentucky didn't tell me this, that this guy is homosexual, but specifically only is attracted to transsexuals or transgenders.
Wow.
So, if you've ever been over there, if you've ever seen a really good,
I hear there's a lot of that there.
I mean, you can't tell the difference. That's what I'm saying. Like I was with this person a whole 24 hours before I knew it was a boy.
Luckily, before you made a mistake.
Yeah. Oh yeah. None of that ever happened. But
I mean, you're anonymous. No.
Yeah. Well, there was a close call, but nothing ever happened.
Okay. Okay. There you go.
But he was at least, respectful enough to steer me away from people that I thought were women that I maybe was going to pursue. Like, oh, that's a dude. Like, oh, okay. And there were a lot of them, but
and this is just the first of many dangers you encountered.
The first of many. So I think I had a total of 5 visits over here with this guy.
Okay.
The first, up until the one pinnacle moment we're going to talk about today, the first 4, I guess, were pretty easy, smooth, quick in and out. Right. I was there for a couple of days. I was a big pothead. I'd smoke a bunch of pot. We'd send this little kid on a bike. He'd come back with hands full of Malta, which is what they call marijuana, for $5.
Wow.
Probably an ounce of weed.
Yeah.
And but this guy, Matt, I'll tell you his name, was strung out on crystal meth.
Okay.
And I'd never been around that.
Okay.
So, but the first several, the first 4 visits, I was afraid of it. I had no desire.
You're just smoking weed, drinking tequila, hanging out.
And they were hitting this funny little pipe with glass in it, they called it.
So back to like those visits, what was you would go to the pharmacy, buy what you needed. You had orders maybe from people back home.
Yeah. Had orders from back home. That was a growing list of people that wanted some stuff.
So you'd get it, buy it cheap.
Right.
And then how are you getting it back? Did you already know?
I didn't know how I was going to get it over the border the first time, but this guy had already done this before.
Okay.
So this American, Matt, that I was dealing with would actually make his living digging in dumpsters of hotels in San Diego. So he'd walk his bike across, because you can't ride your bike across the border. You have to walk it across.
Okay.
He'd walk it across, and he would do that every day. So it was all the Border Patrol agents knew him. They recognized him. They didn't card him back and forth. It was just a regular occurrence for him.
Yeah.
Right. So we actually, for whatever reason, didn't use his bike. The pharmacist lent us like a brand new Trek bike, this pharmacist that he knew that I was getting the stuff from.
Okay.
And we would put the drugs in the bicycle tires, and he would just wheel the bike across the border like he would every day. We would dump them out at the back of a McDonald's into my suitcase. I'd hop on the train, then go take a plane, go home, sell the stuff, come back, a month or 2 later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty smooth.
Yeah, I was making a pretty good living, and living a exciting, dangerous, stupid, crazy life.
I mean, how much profit were you making on a trip?
Well, I was very small time.
Couple thousand
bucks.
It's not bad.
Yeah, not bad. And it was growing. First couple times I might have made a few hundred, but then it turned into thousands.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the final time where the big story all happens was it was going to be just tens of thousands of profit.
Oh yeah.
Because I had $10,000 of drugs in my possession that were Mexico value at $10,000. So it was probably 80, 100,000 at home.
Jeez. So yeah, those times go smooth, easy, no problem. You're feeling good, confident. And then where does it turn?
Well, funny you should ask that, because the big mistake I made in hindsight is I took a hit of that crystal meth pipe for the first time.
On the 5th trip.
On the 5th trip. Now the 5th trip was going to be like all the other ones. It was a 2 or 3 day plan.
Yeah.
Hang out, smoke some weed, get the drugs, go home.
Yeah.
Well, for whatever reason, I had enough of curiosity over those other 4 trips to hit this pipe. And the rest is history, man. I was awake for 5 days without any sleep. And then when I did sleep, it was about 3 hours. And I woke up, I remember leaving the apartment and going out with Matt's significant other, and walking down the street and literally seeing cows that weren't there, people walking upside down toward me. And then I went another 5 days with no sleep. So I was planning to be there 3 days, and I ended up being there 10 or 11 days.
10 or 11 days to start. Or was that the total trip?
That was the total trip. That was the last time I ever went to Tijuana, Mexico.
Okay. So what happened during those 10 days?
Oh, man.
Because, you hit meth like day one.
Day one.
Right.
Yeah, maybe day 2, but it was pretty soon. And
you still had a job to do. You still had to go buy the steroids.
Oh, yeah.
Get them over the border.
Yeah.
Okay.
We kind of accomplished all of that right away, getting the steroids. I would get that done first day.
Yeah.
Get it out of the way so I could party and not have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But then I also started to get bright ideas to pick up other stuff for other people. Like some people were wanting some Adderall and just stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I started getting like Vicodin, Adderalls, and I'd never done that before, right? So that lasted 2 or 3 days. And then by that time I was just blitzed, man. And I had never felt like this in my life. I had experimented with pretty much every street drug out there, but never this. And that stuff's just crazy, man.
It's what they gave the Nazis to get them in the Blitzkrieg. All the Nazi soldiers were issued meth.
Wow.
And they would just stay up for like a week straight just mow down Frenchmen.
Oh, makes sense.
That's how they made it into France so quickly.
I never knew that. And
those dudes were all methed up. They were crazy.
Wow. you do feel invincible on that stuff. I'm not here to glorify it because it about wrecked my life. It about killed me.
Yeah.
You know, I should have died. I shouldn't even be here telling this story right now. You know, and a lot of people do go over there and die from it. You know,
I can see that.
I don't even know if Matt's still alive. Frankly,
probably not.
Probably not. Chances are probably not. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, after getting strung out on this stuff, it came time after, like I said, about 10 days. It was time. I said, I've had enough. I got to get across the border, man, you know, and go home.
What do you do in those? I mean, from day 2 to day 10, you're just sitting around
Hitting the pipe, like
eating tacos.
Yeah. You didn't care. And you don't have much of an appetite, but we would eat tacos a couple times a day.
Okay.
You know, best tacos in the world, of course, for like 3 for $1, you know?
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
But yeah, we would just sit around, hit the pipe, and you're just in la la land, and you don't care about what you're doing.
Wow.
You know?
So now we got to get back home with
Now
this.
it's time to go home. I'm like, you know, I've had enough. You know,
Okay.
thank God I had enough brains somewhere left in my head to just say, this has to stop at some point, right? I
Yeah.
had kids at home that I still had to see.
Yeah.
And that's probably what ended up keeping me, you know, in bounds a little bit. So came time for Matt to pack up the bike and take me across, and he refused to do it this time. And I realized at that moment it was because he was so completely blitzed out of his mind, because he wasn't used to having access to that much crystal meth. You know, they're used to getting just a little bits at a time off the little bit of money he made.
You were buying.
I was buying.
Ah.
Yeah, I was coming
okay.
over there. I came over there with a bunch of cash. Now, my girlfriend, I didn't come over there with 10 grand. My girlfriend was sending me 500 to 1,000 at a time to buy things. And she's like, what are you doing?
Like Western Union or something?
Yeah, Western Union.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was buying it up, you know, and filling him and his partner up and a couple other friends that lived there in the apartment complex. And
You're feeding everyone, getting everyone high.
Yeah, just a 10-day.
You're the party man.
Yeah, yeah. And so he was just so blitzed out, I think, that he was scared to take. And this time it was much more drugs. Like we could barely get them in the bike tires, right?
Yeah.
And so I think he just got super paranoid and just was like, I'm not doing it.
So you're taking these and stuffing them in the tube?
Yeah. Yeah. So the bottles, it's a lot of glass bottles, the steroids, you know, the testosterone.
Okay.
And then pill bottles, you know, but we would take the pills out of the bottles and put them in like Ziplocs, you know, stuff like that. And back then it was before TSA, so you could fly with that stuff, no problem, you know. But
well, that would have been right. 2003 would have been right around the start of TSA.
Yeah, you're right. I guess they had TSA, but I never had a problem.
I don't think it was as advanced as it is now.
And I would even take them on my carry-on. Like I never had a problem going through security at the airports ever. It was never even a concern.
Yeah.
You know? And I never had marijuana or cocaine, which is, I think, what the dogs look for.
Yeah.
You know, they're not looking for steroids, you know. So we had so many drugs this trip that it barely fit in the bike tires.
Yeah.
You know. And so he got paranoid. He decided he wasn't going to take the trip. He was adamant, I'm not doing it. And we got in a fist fight on the balcony.
Jesus.
And again, somehow had enough sanity to not kill him because he was, you know, in no condition to fight. And I'm on steroids. You know what I mean?
You're on steroids and meth.
And meth.
And you need to get the fuck out of there.
Right.
And he's fucking up your whole plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it could have got ugly fast, but I hit him a couple of times, let him alone. And I took the bike that the pharmacist gave us because it had all the drugs in it.
Yeah.
You know?
How did you pump the tires back up afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We pumped the tires back up.
That's fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's kind of crazy. It's smart.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was his idea, you know.
Meth head engineering.
Yeah. He had it all down. So I took my suitcase, his little carry-on roll-away suitcase, you know, roller suitcase with the bike. Mm-hmm. And here I'm walking down the streets of Tijuana, man. There's militia sitting there looking at me. They knew I was in and out of town all the time. They probably knew I was up to something. And I'm paranoid as crap that they're just going to like come up and say like, what's up, dude? What's in the suitcase? Where are you going?
Yeah.
This is normal for a
Well, nothing was in the suitcase, right?
No, nothing was in the suitcase. it was in the bike tires, but still,
Yeah.
like, you know, they're not going to be stupid. They start checking the suitcase, don't find anything. It's going to make them mad. Then they're going to check everything. And they've seen it all, you know. They know people put stuff in tires.
Yeah.
You know, so. But somehow I made it down the street to the pharmacist and said, hey, can you help me? Told him the story. He's like, hell to the no.
Yeah.
Matter
Not
of fact,
helping you smuggle shit.
yeah. And he's like, matter of fact, get out of my shop and never come back and just take the bike with you. I don't even want the bike back.
So you told him his tires were all filled full of drugs.
Oh, yeah, he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I think he knew how we were getting them across every time,
Yeah.
you know, but he just would never have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, he had a real business.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't have any reason to risk his business for me.
Jeez.
So from there, I go all the way across town. Don't even remember how I found my way to these people that we had hung out with at one point during that 10-day period. And this guy that had this apartment was married to a woman that was half American. Her mother was American, her dad was Mexican. So she could go across.
Okay.
So when I get to their apartment, she's home alone. So I said, great. You know, she spoke plain English. I said, hey, here's what happened. Can you help me get across? She said, yeah, I'll do it. No problem. I was going to pay her. She was thrilled. Right. So, about the time we were about to leave the apartment, her boyfriend, her husband, still don't know if they were married, comes home, and he's cool with me. You know, he wasn't bothered that I was there. He was happy that I was there.
Yeah.
Because he knew I had money. You
Yeah.
know, he was in on the party scene for 10 days with us, you know.
Jeez.
And he was thrilled to find out that now he had some control over me, that Matt was out of the picture, right?
Okay.
So,
Are these all just like strung out Americans? And like,
oh, no, these are all Mexicans.
well, you said the one was American, then Matt was American.
Yeah, Matt was American.
So is there
and-
just a bunch of strung out Americans down there? Did you
No.
run into them? Just
No.
a couple?
No, I was the white guy in town.
Okay.
Me and Matt. Like everybody else was Mexican.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Tijuana is not a vacation spot.
No.
You know what I mean?
Well, people go over there for exactly what you're doing.
Exactly. It's a party town.
Yeah.
College kids go over from San Diego and party,
Yeah.
you know, but that's the extent of it,
Okay.
you know. So her boyfriend or whatever husband comes home, says, hey, what's going on? We tell him. He's like, oh, cool, man. Yeah, we'll help you out. No big deal. But let's just hang out and party for a while. You know, it's better to go over at night anyway.
Yeah.
You know, let's hang out and party, man, you know. So I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm blitzed out of my mind already.
Up for 10 days.
Yeah, up for 10 days. What's another day? You know, I'm thrilled that I found somebody that's going to take me across.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're feeling optimistic at this
Right.
moment too.
Yeah. So a little last party sounded good to me, you know?
Yeah.
A little send off. So then what happened was he had called half the neighborhood over who I didn't know, had never met before, to come party with us that night. Right. So we're all partying, doing all kinds of different drugs, all from my stash, of course.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I get the bright idea that I want to take some cocaine with me this time. Right.
Okay.
I wanted some cocaine that night to do. And then I thought, well, why not take it with me? He's like, oh, yeah, I can get the best cocaine you've ever had for $600 a kilo. Which, you know,
That's cheap as fuck.
yeah. I mean, I think I could sell it on the streets for like $4 or $5 grand.
Yeah.
Right. Not only was it cheaper than I've ever seen it, it was uncut,
Oh, wow.
pure cocaine.
Wow.
So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So about an hour later, you know, it's getting late into the evening. It's probably midnight by now. He calls these guys over, and it's literally like something out of a movie. I mean, I felt like I was in the middle of a movie at this point because this guy comes in, this little like Danny DeVito type guy, you know, he's like 4 foot nothing,
Yeah.
you know, wider than he is tall, with this big, like, what's that wrestler's name? The Giant? That died?
Andre the Giant?
Andre the Giant. Literally like Andre the Giant.
Like a huge dude.
Yeah. And they're in leather jackets. You know, they look like Italians, man, you know, like an Italian mafia or something.
But they're Mexicans.
They're Mexican.
Like slick back hair. Were they like
Exactly.
matching?
Exactly.
I
Yep.
feel like I see them matching.
Yep. Both leather jackets.
They have studs on the jackets.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So
Man. I can see them. Mustaches?
no mustaches.
No
Not that
mustaches.
I remember. No.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
So these two clowns walk in.
These
You're
guys
throwing the
walk in.
party. Everyone's doing your drugs.
Right.
You're paying for everything.
Right.
And this is in an apartment?
It is.
Okay.
In a one-room apartment, literally like one room with a bathroom with a curtain around it in the corner.
That's it.
I mean,
Shitty.
Undescribable.
Shitty little place.
There's nothing to compare to in America that I've seen.
Yeah.
In the United States that I've seen, because Mexico is really part of America. But so, yeah.
So Vinny and Vinny walk in.
Vinny and Vinny walk in.
And are you like, who the fuck are these
At this
guys?
point, I'm getting scared just by looking at them because I know they're a whole nother level. Like in my mind, that's what cartel looks like. I'd never been around cartel that I know of. Maybe all these guys were part of the cartel, but these guys looked like
enforcers
bosses.
or
Right.
like they had
Mob
some
bosses.
like some kind of gangster
right.
in some way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they bring these two big rocks in, lay them on the table. I test them, put a little on my tongue, my teeth, instantly numb. I'm like, oh my God, craziness. I'll take it. So I run down to the payphone, call my girlfriend. The apartment's a second-story apartment unit. So I run down the steps, payphone right there at the end of the street, and call my girlfriend to send me the money. She wires me like $1,300 or whatever it was because I got two of them. I'm like, hey, $600 a kilo. Let's get two of them. And
How the fuck were you going to get that home?
I didn't care. I was out of my mind.
Yeah.
The logic was out the window days ago.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously.
You're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Hook it up.
Yeah. Like what I was thinking at that point, who knows? But I had the confidence because I was never afraid of the airports. I was only afraid of getting it across the border. And so here's where the story starts to get crazy because these guys said, oh, we'll take you across. You have too much stuff now to get in the bike tires. Let's take it all out, put it in your suitcase, and we'll throw your suitcase in the trunk and drive you to the border. Then you get out, walk across the border. We'll drive across and give you your drugs and you're free to go, and you pay us. And I'm stupid enough and blitzed out enough to believe they're actually going to do this for me.
That sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah. So I started to realize things weren't
paid
quite
him.
right.
You paid him for the coke.
No, I haven't paid him. Oh, I paid him for the coke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Paid him for the coke. And so about that time, they decided they all want to go downstairs across the street to a taco place, right? It was kind of like a restaurant. It wasn't just a taco stand. And it had like, it was like covered seating, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And like a patio. And there was probably, actually, let me digress a little bit. So what happened before we went and eat the tacos is the guy that owned the apartment, literally like in front of me, kicked half the people out. And I know in hindsight that the people that he kicked out were not in the actual gang he was a part of. They were just other neighborhood people that he knew.
Yeah.
Right? People that I'd met during the
They weren't in the circle.
They weren't in the circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there was probably about 8 or 10 of us left in the room at this point. They want to go down and eat some tacos, right? And so I'm realizing I've got to get away from these guys, man. Oh, so what happened was, again, sorry, I digress. After they kicked those other guys out, 6 or 8 of those other guys out, they had conversations amongst each other in Spanish, not knowing that I was formerly married to a Panamanian and knew pretty good Spanish. And I caught on to what they were saying. They were basically saying, hey, we're obviously not going to give him the drugs. We're going to take them, and if we have to, we'll kill him. They were talking about killing me.
Wow.
I don't know enough. I didn't know enough Spanish.
Or just leaving your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the two.
Yeah. I didn't know enough Spanish to know exactly what the plan was, but I knew they were talking about killing me. Okay. And they weren't going to give me my drugs back. Okay.
Yeah.
Which was obvious to any sane human being at the time, but I wasn't sane at that time, right?
No.
So we go down to the taco stand or the taco place, and I realized I got to find a way out of this place, right? Everybody in the apartment, including the girlfriend, came with us. So there was nobody left in the apartment. Okay. So I asked the waitress, I said, as we're waiting on our tacos after we ordered them, I said, is there a restroom here? She said, yeah, it's around back. I said, perfect. Even if I have to leave this place and jet out the back and never see these guys again, I don't care about my drugs. I'm trying to save my life.
Yeah.
Right.
All your shit's in the apartment.
Oh, yeah. In my suitcase at this point. The bike's up there.
So the bike's up there, but fuck
now.
the bike. You don't need that.
Don't need the bike.
Everything's in the suitcase.
Right.
Okay.
So as I obviously didn't have to go to the bathroom, but I get around the back of the building and I peek around the side and I see they all got their tacos and they're busy eating, right? So they're not paying attention to anything.
Yeah.
So for whatever idiot reason, I had the balls to race up to that apartment, up steps. They could see this whole thing if they just looked over and saw me, right?
Jeez.
Go up there, apartment doors open, thank God. Don't know why they left it open. Grab the suitcase that had all my stuff in it, clothes and drugs and everything, raced down the steps and ducked around the corner to a Greyhound bus station and hid in the bathroom for like 2 hours. I didn't know what else to do. And I'm surprised that the employees at Greyhound didn't, come in the bathroom like, what are you doing?
What the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah. But at this point, it was like 2 a.m. And I just wanted to be, gone enough, out of sight long enough for them to just forget about it and realize they weren't going to find me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And I came out of the, and actually the time frame is really kind of mixed up in my head. This was about 20 years ago, but I came out of the Greyhound bus station, and I believe it was nearly daylight at that point, right? And I was about to get in this cab, and two guys that were brothers that got kicked out of the apartment by the apartment owner.
Okay, yeah.
In the inner circle.
Okay.
Showed up there happenstantially on the sidewalk and saw me with my suitcase. And I was like, oh, crap. Jeez. I thought they probably knew, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I am freaking dust, dude. These guys are going to take me behind the barn and kill me, man.
Yeah.
And they didn't know. They had no idea. They're like, hey, what are you doing? I thought you were going across the last night. I was like, no, I didn't. He's like, oh, well, we'll help you across. We can help you across. Let's get in the cab and go to our house. We'll hang out there because my dad is half American, or my dad's American. My mom's Mexican. See, it's weird because everybody's got, half and half. He wants to help you, but who knows if that's even true. But so we go up in the hills in an area I've never been in. Didn't even know how we got there. Wasn't paying attention. Didn't care.
This is now the third group of people that is supposed to help you get your shit over.
First Matt, who I had to nearly beat up. Then the guys in the apartment.
Yeah.
His
Vinny
wife,
and Vinny.
Vinny and Vinny, those guys. And now the guys that got kicked out, who I later found out were Zetas, which is a vigilante group in Mexico.
What does that mean?
Well, they're just, they're rebels against the government.
Okay. Yeah. So not cartel.
I don't know if they're cartel per se, but they're probably tied to cartel.
But it's a gang.
Yeah, it's a gang. It's a well-known gang. I mean, they kill people. They leave heads on the side of the road.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So they're a big organization,
Yeah.
And so, I would liken it to the difference in Hamas and ISIS. I mean, same agenda.
Yeah.
Same family of craziness, right?
Yeah.
So anyhow, so what happens is we go up to their apartment. It's daylight. It's morning, right? And they're like, our dad's gone for the day. He's out doing stuff, and he works tonight, and then he'll take us over tomorrow morning. So we're talking 24 hours, and we'll be with these guys. Okay. So again, here we go again. Let's party. We got you.
Jeez.
You would think that I learned the first time, but I didn't.
No.
Okay. So I'm like, okay, cool. I had a 16th of meth in my pocket, which was quite a bit for three people to last us 24 hours. And they get the idea. They said, let's go party on Revolution Boulevard. Now, I'd never been there. I'd party, and I'd walk down that street during the day, but it's like the Strip. It's like the Vegas Strip of Mexico. Right?
Bars and restaurants.
Bars, clubs, westernized, or Americanized. And so the idea was they had a car. Don't remember what kind of car it was. It was an old car with a trunk, big car is all I remember. And they said, let's throw your stuff in the trunk. Let's park the car at this pay lot across from this hotel that we'll go get. We'll hang out at the hotel tonight and party up and down the Strip. And that way your drugs are safe because you don't want to drag them across the street and, be checked at the hotel and all that. Just keep them locked in the car. I was like, okay, cool. So I had enough, meth in my pocket to last us easily through the night. And so as soon as we check into the hotel and come out on the streets after smoking some meth, all of a sudden, man, like 5 cop cars come out of nowhere with lights and sirens on coming right at us. And I'm thinking, wow, what's going on, man? I'm like, I'm looking for something crazy happening, right?
Shit.
Next thing I know, they're coming right up to us. Throw the 3 of us. It was myself and the 2 brothers, right? And just for reference sake, I'll say one brother was older and shorter. The other guy was younger and taller. Okay. And so we get thrown up against the cop cars. I throw the little pack of crystal meth I had on the sidewalk. And this is like a marble type sidewalk with lights on it. How the cops didn't see that thing just sitting there, I have no idea. It was so obvious, you know. They never saw me throw it. They threw us up against the car, had us put our hands on the top of the car, and then the cop that was, you know, that had, you know, was booking me, for lack of a better term, had put his hands in my pockets, grabbed everything I had out of there, which was just cash. I had about $500 American dollars in pesos at the time. Yeah. Throws it on top of the car in front of me, and I see him grab some off the top, probably a third of it. Right? Yeah. Puts it in his pocket, and I'm not dumb enough at this point to argue with him. I don't care what he takes.
Fuck no. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then
are they saying anything to you?
Well, they're kind of talking, you know, yelling, screaming, you know, and I don't know enough Spanish at that point to know, and I'm freaking out anyway. So, you know,
jeez,
I couldn't really understand what was happening.
Yeah.
And I still didn't know what was happening. I didn't know, you know, like how they knew who I was and why they were coming after me and these guys, you know. So they put us in two cars. I'm in the back of the car with the shorter guy, the older guy, who's kind of the ringleader of the deal.
You in handcuffs or anything?
I think we were cuffed before we were put in the car. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the younger, taller kid was in the other car by himself in the back. They pull us over to a really dark alley, just the two cop cars and the three of us, and, you know, 4 cops, I guess, total. And the car that I was in was pulled up against the sidewalk in front of the other car where the one kid was in by himself. Next thing I know, as they're getting us out of the back of the cop car, they're beating this young kid to a pulp, man, like literally beating him up bad. And I'm like, oh God, we're next. Like, what's happening here? You know, this all happened really quick, you know? Jeez. So I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? So they luckily did not beat us up. They threw that kid that they beat up back in the back of the car, threw his older brother, the shorter kid, in the back of that car, and they took off and said they're going to jail. Now I'm here with 2 cops and the 1 cop car, and they're like, look, man, we've been looking for these guys forever. These are bad dudes. We know that you're mixed up with them. We've known you've been in town for a couple of weeks dealing with these guys, and we want to know what's going on. I was like, I just met them, man. Like, I just met them yesterday. I don't know what you're talking about, man. I came here to meet a friend, and you know, we had a fight, and I just met these guys. I don't know who they are, you know. And he said, okay, well, look, how much money do you have on you? So I showed him all the money I had, because they'd given me my money back after I got in the cop car for some weird reason. I guess they just did that so they could take what they wanted. Yeah. The cop that cuffed me. So I said, you know, I pulled it all out of my pockets. They were like, okay, we're taking your money and we're taking you to jail. And I was like, all right. I mean, I guess there's no negotiation here, so whatever. And at this point, I'm obviously pretty freaking out. I had seen shows, you know, with Mexican jail, dude. And I'm just like, I'm not coming out of here alive, man, you know. So they call another cop car to come get me, just a solo cop. He comes and gets me, puts me in the back of his car. He's talking to me on the way there, asking me if I had any more money on me. I said, no, they took everything I had. He's sorry, man. Well, this is your lucky day. I got another call, and I don't have time to take you to the jailhouse. I'm going to take you to this border crossing. I'm going to let you out, and you're never allowed back in Mexico again. Just get out of here and never come back. And I was like, oh, thank God, man. You know,
sounds like a fucking scam, like a setup.
It was a setup.
Yeah.
And funny you should mention that, because at that point it dawned on me.
This dude's like, yeah, get out of here, and you're scared to shit. Most people would be like, I'm not going to complain.
Right.
Like, I'm not telling anyone about this. I'm not going to ask to speak to your supervisor.
Right.
I just got fucking robbed.
Yeah. I don't want your badge number. You know.
Bye. Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't come back to Mexico. Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would think that would be the best idea, right? Just leave my stuff and be glad that I didn't die.
So you don't have your suitcase?
I don't have my suitcase. It's stuck in the back of that car at the pay lot.
Still in the pay lot.
Still in the pay lot.
Okay.
And I mean, I walk across the border. The American border agents are there literally laughing at me. They probably see it all the time. You know, I'm blitzed out of my mind, dumb enough to talk to them about what happened.
You're like, they stole my drugs, man.
Yeah. And I asked them, like, should I go back? And he's like, whatever, dude, it's up to you. I mean, we can't tell you not to go. That's their country, you know?
Yeah.
And so I walked back across the border,
Because you wanted your suitcase.
I wanted my suitcase. And I felt like I could find my way back to that pay lot because it was in a popular area, Revolution Boulevard.
Yeah.
And I could get my stuff and find a way to get it across. So I get to the pay lot.
I mean, you weren't thinking right.
Of course.
In any stretch of the imagination.
Not even, yeah.
Because that cop just told you to never come back to Mexico. And here you are back in town walking around.
Yeah. I mean, 30 minutes before I decide to go back, I'm wondering if I'm going to live or spend the rest of my life in a Mexican jail, which no American spends the rest of their life in a Mexican jail. They either get deported back or they get killed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, again, say no to drugs, man. You know, it really should have cost me my life. I made some really stupid decisions, as you can tell already. So anyway, I get to the pay lot. The car's gone. The attendant knew me. He had recognized me because I'm the white guy, right? Yeah. And he recognized me and said, "Oh no, they came and got the car like 30 minutes ago, man. They've been gone a while." I was like, "Oh man." That's when I knew I got.
So the brothers,
yeah.
So they didn't go to jail.
They didn't go to jail.
No.
They all split my money.
But that guy took a beating. To make this look good.
And what's interesting now that you mention that is I actually read a book before the first time I ever went over there on how to traffic steroids safely from Mexico. And they talk about this scam in the book that they'll literally have two guys get with the cops, get you caught up with the cops, and they'll literally beat one of them up.
No shit.
This is a scam that they do on a regular basis.
And you just forgot about it or...
Well, I was blitzed out, man.
Yeah, man.
You know, just enough can't be said about how out of my mind
how fucked up you were.
You know, not just the drugs, but when you don't sleep for 10 days.
No.
That alone will make you delirious.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, very little nutrition, a couple of tacos a day. You weren't really hungry.
Yeah.
You know, so. All right. So anyway, what happened was from there, I was still dumb enough and determined enough to get my stuff back, right? Now I was mad that I got took by everybody, right? I couldn't just leave the country and say, forget it. So I catch a cab, okay? And this is like, I want to say it's like 2 a.m. again.
It's always 2 a.m. with all your shit.
Exactly. Well, like a full 24 hours had passed from the last escapade, right? Where I escaped the last guys, Vinny and Vinny. So anyhow, I get in this cab and I have literally no idea where these guys live. I mean, I'd never been to that part of Mexico, that part of Tijuana up in the hills where these guys had this little house. I mean,
what's it, like 30 minutes outside the city or something?
Probably 20 at least.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I get in this cab and I try to describe to this guy what the neighborhood looks like, what the houses look like. And I said, it's up here in the hills somewhere. And we go driving literally for 6 hours in that cab.
Jeez.
You know, just as a side note, I think I gave that guy like $100 American. It was more than he makes all week. Like he was thrilled to stay up all night with me. But I finally gave up, man. After 6 hours, I was like, there's just no way I'm going to find out where these guys live. I'm never going to find them. And we were up in the hills. So like, again, how dumb is it to stop there, to like end the cab ride there? Why wouldn't I have them take me back down to the city? I was just out of it, right?
Yeah.
I literally get out of the car and I look to my left and I'm at the house. I'm at these guys' house. Craziest thing, man.
Like coincidence. You thought you were just getting the fuck out.
Yeah, I thought I was just ending the cab ride. And I think in my mind I was going to walk around the area maybe, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think I was starting to realize I can't stay in this cab much longer because, I think the cab driver was like, I got to go home, dude. Like it's past my shift. I got family at home. And I think it was kind of him too, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, but he still could have taken me back down to the city and I didn't have him do that. Right. So I'm like getting out of the car. And again, I look to the left and I see that it's their house. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. And these places have no windows, no doors, nothing. They're just like houses under construction almost or something, you know, but they're old. They're not
like little concrete or brick.
Yeah. Like concrete, just forts type thing, you know?
Jeez.
Yeah. And, so I walk in there and the younger brother, the taller, skinny one is in there. in the house. And I'm like, what's going on, dude?
You
know,
just
like,
fucking waltzed in
yeah,
there.
just waltzed right in, and he's like, hey, you know, he's thrilled to see me, right? And or at least he acted it like he was, you know. And I was like, what is happening, man? I just, you know, I came from the pay lot earlier. They said y'all left, and it was like an hour after the cops left. I was like, you know, what happened?
Shit.
And I can't remember exactly what he told me and what his excuse was, because his brother, the older brother that was younger, wasn't there. And I can't remember the excuse he gave me of where his brother was and where the car was, but I feel like he told me that his brother was still in jail, that they let him out because they beat him up, so they felt bad for him and let him out early, something like that.
Yeah.
But his brother was still in jail. And I was like, okay, but where's the car? Why don't you have the car then? And I can't remember to this day what he told me, you know. He might have just denied it and said, we didn't get the car. They're lying to you. The car's still there or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, he's like, but hey, I'm hungry, man. Let's go down into town and get some tacos, get some food. I was like, all right, cool, man. He goes, my brother will be out of jail soon, and he'll be able to get the car and get your stuff. We'll still take you across. Right. And I'm like, I don't believe it at this point, but I didn't have any other options.
Yeah.
I'm hungry too. I need to get back down to town too. So I'm like, all right, let's grab a cab. Let's go back down to town. Let's get something to eat and go from there. Right. Yeah. So we're there a couple of hours walking the streets. I realized nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to get my stuff back. I finally make amends with that. I'm not getting my stuff back. So I duck into an internet cafe. He follows me because I did it kind of suddenly. He's like, what's going on? What are you doing? I was like, man, I'm getting out of here. I mean, I wasn't scared of this kid. He was the pawn, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, look, dude, I'm out of here, bro. I'm not worried about my stuff. I got to go home, man. You know, I need to get to bed, man. I need some sleep, and I'm just done with this. So for whatever reason, I think because obviously I would have needed a credit card or a debit card to book it, and I think I maybe didn't have enough in my bank account because my girlfriend had actual cash she was sending me to book the flight. I think that's probably what happened. And so from there, he left the internet cafe while I was booking the flight and went around the corner to get something to drink or something. And so when I realized I wasn't going to be able to book the flight there, I jetted. Okay. Craziest thing again, man. You would think that this thing's over, right? 3 rounds, I'm over, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm leaving looking for a plane ticket. Well, I run into these other 2 guys that I had met that were not in the apartment that night with Vinny and them, but I'd met them during the 10 days, right?
Okay.
And they were not like gangsters. They were like just regular dudes, you know, had jobs, I think even, but they were just partiers like I was.
Yeah.
You know? And so they seemed safer. So they invited me back to their apartment, right? Now, this is in the middle of the day. And they're like, man, we'll help you get your stuff back. We know who those dudes are. They're nothing to worry about. We can get to them. We'll get your stuff back from them and help you out. I was like, now they didn't have, unlike the other guys, they didn't have a remedy to get me across, but they're like, I don't know how you're going to get across, but we'll get your stuff back. They might have been being honest, but I sat there for a couple of hours and I was just like, you know what, dude, I'm just done, man. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So again, memory doesn't serve me well at this point, but I think I actually went to the airport to book the flight in person with cash because I had my girlfriend send me like the last bit of cash I had. Yeah. I think I only had like $400 left. I mean, I literally had spent almost 10 grand, you know, primarily on drugs, you know.
Yeah. And this is everything you got.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
And so I get there to the airport to buy the plane ticket, and I'm like still like $250 short just to get home, you know. And I might have not have the dollar amounts right, but it was a good number of, you know, it was a good amount of money that I didn't have. I told the airlines what had happened to me. I just told them I got mugged and you know, robbed and stuff. And they could tell I was completely blitzed out and distraught, you know. And so they gave me some kind of medical exception to get me home. And I don't remember if I even had to give them the money I had in my pocket, but I got on a plane. You know, I get on the plane. Obviously, I fell straight to sleep. I'm completely just blitzed and exhausted. Yeah. You know, a couple hour flight to Kentucky. Actually, it was like 8 hours, I think, flight to Kentucky. And I wake up on the plane and everybody around me is just staring at me like, holy crap, like what happened to you? So evidently I fell asleep. I mean, obviously I fell asleep, but evidently I was probably talking to my sleep, falling out of the seat. Like, I remember a couple times the airline stewardess would come and like put me back in the seat because I was literally about to fall into the aisle, you know?
Yeah. You were just fucking strung out.
Yeah. Just completely strung
like
out,
shit.
man. Just indescribable, to the point that when I got in the car at the airport in Kentucky, and my girlfriend, who obviously knew me very well, looked at me, was like, who are you? Like, what have you been? She didn't know any of this. I didn't tell her anything until I got back. She's like, what happened to you? What's going on? Why'd you stay there so long? And why'd you have me send you all the money you had? Like, what happened? And I was too blitzed out to even tell her, man. It was like a couple of weeks later before I could even tell her what happened. But I was so different looking. I probably lost 20, 30 pounds in that 10 or 11 days.
Holy fuck.
And she was like, you're gross. Like, I'm like, she got the ick. Like, she's like, I'm completely not attracted to you and never will be again. So get out of my life. You know? So I was living with my mother at the time, grew up in a divorced home. So lived with my mother. She gets home. She takes one look at me and says, get out of the house. Like, I don't know where you've been for 2 weeks, but you look like you've been through hell and back. And she knew I was on drugs. She knew I was dabbling in all kinds of drugs.
Did you even get like a change of clothes or a shower yet?
I did. So she let me grab the clothes that I had. I actually had freshly washed clothes that probably she washed for me, right? Yeah. Threw them in a clothes basket. And she was literally like, get out or I'm calling the sheriffs to lock you up. Like, get out of here. And I was like, okay, she's serious. She's never said something like that.
You still haven't slept.
Still haven't slept. Still haven't slept. So she calls all of my relatives. We're a real close-knit family. You know, she's got like 6 brothers and sisters at that time. A couple of them have passed since, but don't answer his calls. You know, called grandma and grandpa, everybody. Don't answer his calls. Called my sister. He needs to learn. I don't know what he's up to, but I can't deal with him. He's out of control. Leave him alone. So I'm on the streets for like 7 days, man. You know, I got like change in my pocket, you know, not eating, nothing. And I met my girlfriend at this apartment complex, and we were lifeguards together when I was in college, and she was still working there. So I went over there to see her. She still wouldn't have nothing to do with me. Yeah. But after 7 days of being on the streets, man, and really still not sleeping much, right? I talked to one of the maintenance guys that I knew there pretty well. I said, look, man, here's what happened in a nutshell. I got to get some sleep, dude. Like, I got to get a roof over my head, man. I'm going to die. This is going to kill me. He's like, all right, look, dude, I got apartment keys to everything, of course. We got a couple of apartments that are under construction, getting some work done to them. I'm going to give you a key to one of them, but if you get caught, you didn't get it from me because it'll cost me my job. Yeah. You know? And so I said, all right, cool, man. I appreciate it. So he put me in this apartment. You know, first night went fine. And second night, by this time I had all those clothes I had in the basket I left my mom's house with were dirty and needed to be washed. Yeah. So I took the little bit of change I had in my pocket, who knows even where I got that, and went to the laundromat. For some stupid reason, I had to do it at midnight. I couldn't do it in like normal hours when most people wash their clothes. And so I went over there, and I'm back and forth in and out of the apartment, and this young couple across the hall hears me late at night going back and forth, and they knew something wasn't right. Like, I wasn't a normal resident, you know. I wasn't a friendly neighbor like, hey, I moved in, how you doing? You know, none of that, right? Yeah. And the apartment was completely empty. So they probably looked in and saw, you know, this guy's been here a couple of days and there's not even a stick of furniture, you know. Yeah. So they call the cops. And within moments, cops are out in the parking lot, and I see through my front windows these cop lights, probably 3 or 4 cop cars.
Is this the first day?
Second day I was in the second night that I was in the apartment.
So you got some sleep, maybe.
I got sleep the first night, and I slept like all day that day.
This dude's up like 20 days.
Right.
Without really sleeping.
Yeah. I mean, I slept some on the streets because I was so tired. Yeah. I did get some sleep on the streets, you know. And I would find places like in the daytime and just crash out for a couple hours.
You're not doing any drugs at this
No, I didn't have any money. Yeah. I had like change in my pocket. Again, I don't even remember where I had the change left, but no, I had no money left. Right. Yeah. So I must have given the last few $100 I had to the airlines. Maybe they did make me give that. I can't remember exactly, but I had no money. Okay. And so when the cops came to this apartment, I could see the lights show up. I'm like, oh my God, these people called the cops on me. So I luckily just finished washing all my clothes and folded them, had them in the basket, right? Because I was always ready for it. I was always in escape mode, realizing that if somebody came in there or whatever, I had to jet immediately. So I always stayed ready. So after I washed all my clothes, I had them all folded up and in the basket, and I was like laying on a towel on the floor, right? So when the cops show up, I go out the door, which is on the side of the building, right? So the cops couldn't see me leaving the apartment, and I escaped to the back of the building, okay? Well, the back of the building is actually facing the street, kind of like a four-way stop. Actually, it was a three-way stop, okay? And I hide in this bush up against the building. Pretty big bush, and I'm not a big guy, so I thought I was pretty hidden, right? Well, I mean, literally for a couple of hours, man, I'm just hiding out in this bush, and the cop lights are still out there. I know the cops are still looking for me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, dude, like how much longer am I have to sit in this bush? Finally, after a couple of hours, a cop walks right past me. I hear his footsteps. I hear him stop and then go again. So he had to have seen me, because he stopped right in front of that bush. I don't think that's a coincidence.
It's like a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess he just saw a scared young guy that didn't seem like a threat to anybody with a basket of clothes. Yeah, I'm clean cut. I'm not like gangster looking. So he probably just thought, this guy's a runaway or something, or in trouble with his wife. He's just, I'm not going to, I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
But it was weird that he didn't pull me up out of that bush. So finally, after about another hour, the cop lights go off, right? But I could still see a couple of cop cars in that three-way intersection sitting there. And I'm like, God, dude, I'm going to have to be in this bush for God knows how long, man. And it starts to rain. It never like poured, but it was drizzling at that point. It was probably 3 or 4 in the morning at this point.
Yeah.
So about daybreak, I guess at shift change, I see those cop cars leave the intersection. I'm thinking, oh, thank God. So I leave the bushes, go straight out into that street. There's a bus stop there. I hop on a bus that, came almost immediately in its route. Hop on this bus, do 2 trips around the whole city on this back of this bus, just like trying to gather myself like, God, when is this nightmare going to end? And he comes back to the spot that he picked me up at, which happened to be the beginning of his route. So he stopped the bus and made me get off. He noticed I'd been back there for 2 trips. Didn't say nothing to me. Real friendly guy, actually. He said, hey, man, I don't know what you're up to if you're trying to just ride around the city all day with me, but you got to get off the bus because this is my break. And when I'm off the bus, nobody can be on the bus. I'll be back in like 15 minutes. If you want to get back on, I won't charge you. I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. So I get off, and it dawns on me that I'm standing across the street from a hospital that I knew well. I'd been to as a kid or whatever for different ER stuff, like breaking my elbow on a skateboard accident or something, And I knew there was a payphone in that emergency room on the wall that didn't require any money. It was like an emergency phone that people could use, a courtesy phone for like family, hey, Bob's in the hospital or whatever. So back then we didn't have internet, right? So we had classified ads is where you would find jobs in the backs of newspapers.
We had internet. It just didn't have much on it.
Yeah, it just wasn't like a thing then. Well, I guess it was. I don't know. Again, all this is pretty much a blur, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But so I grabbed this classified ads newspaper that's in a newsstand that's free, just the job section.
In the ER?
No, not in the ER, like right outside the ER. Okay. Yeah. I grabbed this and I go into the ER and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work out, but one thing I have to do is get money. Money's the only thing that's going to get me out of this situation. So I literally prayed, man, to God. I mean, I've always been a believer in God at this point, but I never needed him that bad until now, right? Like I was at my wit's end. So I prayed to God. I said, God, you got to help me get out of this situation, man. Nobody's going to help me. I have only thing I knew good in my life was my family, and they had abandoned me,
Jeez.
So I literally spend probably 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. literally standing at this phone, just going to the bathroom periodically probably, and called literally every ad in that newspaper. Nobody would even give me an interview. Wow. Now, all of my family was pretty well off in the mortgage business, making good money. And they were so busy with it, they didn't have time to even train me. I asked them a couple of times, will you train me? Because I had another business before I got into all this trouble. And I wanted out of it. I wanted in the mortgage business. They wouldn't train me. So I prayed again. I said, God, I'm going to call this one mortgage ad. This is the job I really want. And if man, I get choked up at this point because it's getting real for me now. But I said, if I don't get this job, I'm done. Like, I'm probably going to go kill myself, man, because I can't deal with this anymore, man. Like, I can't live this way, you know? And I call that ad again, and the owner of the mortgage company answers the phone and offers me an interview. It just so happened it was at the end of the day. His secretary was gone for the day, so he answered the phone himself. Liked what I had to say. I don't even remember what I said to him, but obviously I probably sounded real motivated, you know. And so he gives me an interview, man, and schedule it for the next day. And here I am, unshowered, like just a mess. Like, don't even know how I'm going to present myself to this interview the next day, right? And so I call my dad's mother, who I was pretty estranged from my dad's family because he was a deadbeat my whole life. So we didn't communicate with him a lot. They loved us, and we saw him at Christmas, and that was about it. You know, get your toys and go home, and hey, Grandma, thanks. You know, rude of me as a kid, but I just didn't know these people, right? So I call her, and I said, hey, here's what happened. She said, I already know, and I can't come get you. Your mother has already called everybody. She won't let us talk to you. And I was like, look, here's what's happening.
That's kind of wicked.
Yeah. It was, my mom had it with me though, man. Cause after my divorce, I just got buck, you know?
Yeah.
And I was a pretty wild child anyway, before my divorce. I calmed down during my marriage, but I was still doing stupid stuff. So when I got divorced, I just lost my mind, you know? Yeah. So anyway, thank God I told her, you know, kind of where I was, had this job interview. I just need a place to shower and clean up and get some decent clothes to wear to the interview. And then, you know, that's all I need from you, man. Can you help me? She's like, yeah, but you can't live here, you know, but I'll help you get cleaned up and get you to the interview tomorrow. And then you're on your own. I was like, okay. So I get the job. And I'm just like, hey, what?
I said, no shit.
Yeah. I get the job. I'm just like ecstatic, but I'm leaving the interview and I don't even know where I'm going to sleep that night, you know? Well, she was gracious enough. She was glad I got the job. She actually had a plan to take me to a shelter from there. I was like, please don't take me to a shelter, man. I had been in those places, like just visiting. Right. And I was like, I'll lose my mind there. Please don't take me there. So she had enough mercy on me to let me stay in her basement, but she refused to drive me to work. I'm 8 miles to the office. I'm walking back and forth to the office for 2 months. Wow. I become the top producer.
Wow.
And the rest is history, man. God helped me out of that situation, like really miraculously, you know?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, that had to be like oxygen just to finally.
Yeah.
Like a drop of water in the desert.
I've never told anybody this full story. And now that I tell it to you and relive it, it's just nothing short of a miracle that I lived through it, man. Like I'm numb right now that I'm even standing in front of you telling this story, man, you know? Yeah. So, yeah.
And then you ended up being very successful.
Yeah. I became very successful.
Working with mortgages.
Yeah. Within a year and a half, had my own mortgage company, became a real estate investor. And yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Everything went well from there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, that was, it's an incredible story. It's rags to riches in a way.
Yeah.
And
I mean, life wasn't peachy all the time after that, but it was a lot better than
you probably learned
looking
a
at
lot.
Death and life in Mexico.
Yeah. You had to learn a lot from that experience, hopefully. Yeah. And you kind of look at it like, I never want to go back there. I'm going to have problems, but I never want to be in that hole again.
Matter of fact, man, when you say that, I remember riding away from Tijuana on that train and looking over the city of Tijuana and saying, I will never go back to that place again.
Yeah.
Never.
Don't go to fucking TJ.
Never.
Yeah.
It's worse now. So yeah.
Well, thanks for interviewing. We appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Awesome.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked it, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to us. That helps. Give it a rating. Whatever platform you're listening on, give it a thumbs up, give it a 5 stars. Like, subscribe, review. Thank you.